Hello and welcome to the PPC Den podcast, the world's first and longest running podcast all about Amazon advertising to make your Amazon PPC life a little bit easier and a little bit more profitable. You can get our entire back catalog, nearly 300 episodes, organized and categorized for you in a easy to use spreadsheet so that you can jump in and read a quick summary of any of our episodes and get the info that you need to help propel your marketing on Amazon. Now, today we are continuing with our Wasted Spend series. I will link to the previous Wasted Spend conversation that I had where I sort of talked about wasted spend. And since then, I have some even more thoughts about wasted spend. Inside your Amazon account, what do people typically define as wasted spend? And it's generally a search term that accrued clicks and no orders. Today, what we're going to be doing is looking at our account, downloading some reports, and seeing how we can find them for sponsored products, brands, and display. A couple more points that I wanted to make since that last episode is that wasted spend, calling all non-converting spend wasted, is actually incorrect. Because what we're going to see is that most non-converting spend is not wasted, in the sense of wasted really means an irrelevant term that you don't want to appear for anymore. In actuality, what a lot of non-converting spend are these very small 1-2 clicks a month searches that are difficult to pin down. And we're going to be looking at how to address this in this series. And to be honest, the degree of wasted spend is tracking it, watching it, monitoring, understanding it is, without a doubt, one of the easiest places to invest your time. It's very straightforward. Show me search terms with no orders. It's very simple. Most accounts are spending, $10,000 a month, maybe 15, 20, 25, 30% is going towards non-converting spend. And you're never going to have zero non-converting spend, but maybe you can get that down from 30% wasted spend to maybe 20% wasted spend. Shave $1,000 off your ad spend bill and lose no revenue, right? Like that sort of beautiful, wonderful, simple thing. Today, we're going to be looking inside search term reports for sponsored product, sponsored brand, sponsored display, and better understand where to identify this. So this is a real account. I've blurred a little bit. I've blurred who this account is, and I'll also be blurring the campaign names and the search terms as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into sponsored ads reports, and we're going to give you a list of things that you as an Amazon seller or Amazon marketer should be writing down. So here's a really simple thing. Not a lot of people are aware of this, but the first thing we're going to do today, I'm recording this on August 9th, but typically I would do this analysis on a Wednesday, looking at the previous Sunday to Saturday. There's lots of reasons why I'd want to do that, because the previous Sunday to Saturday has had all of Sunday, all of Monday, all of Tuesday to settle until I look at it on the 7th. So it gives me, on Wednesday, so it gives me a full 72 hours for that last day to settle. So my week begins on Sunday, it ends on Saturday, and then I look at it the next Wednesday. So if we're looking at a calendar here, July 7th to July 13th would be the week that I'm analyzing, and I would go in on the 17th and do my analysis for the previous Sunday to Saturday. So I would log in on Wednesday and run this. Now, today is pretending that I'm looking at last week, I'll do July 28th to August 3rd. And the report that I will look at is the sponsored products search term report. And here's something that people don't know about. Just have this repeat so that I don't need to come back here and download it again. So just repeat it all the time. And you can see they sneak in a end date. So just go as far as you can, give it an old end date, and just get your reports sort of automatically for you. The easiest way so that you don't have to constantly download this thing. So I'm going to run that one. I'm also going to download same thing for sponsored brands. Create report, sponsored brands, search term report, same dates. Wonderful. Hit that recur button, run the report. Head back over, do the exact same thing for sponsored display. Now here, there's no search term report. They call it the matched target report. And we're going to do the same date range. We're going to download it, set it to recur. I'm not going to do that here, but download this. Now, while this is percolating, I'm going to go over to Google Sheets. And here is what every single Amazon business should be tracking. So we'll call it the wasted spend, non-converting spend tracker. Again, I call it wasted spend. I mean non-converting spend. So the first thing I'm going to do is write the date, and I would write the date of analysis. Looking at the previous week, you can also write the week number. I just do a quick Google, what week number is it? And it is 32, so I'll write week 31 for last week. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write some totals. Total ad spend, total ad sales, total or ACOS. And then right next to it, I'm going to write down sponsored product, non-converting, sponsored brand, non-converting, sponsored display, non-converting. There's going to be a little bit more we're going to do with sponsored display because it is a weird one. So we have those things. And here we go. So let's go ahead and pull up that spreadsheet. Okay, so we're going to do something very simple here. The first thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and grab our sponsored products we'll begin with. So for sponsored products, I'm looking at that search term report. I've just hidden the search terms, and all I'm looking for is I'm going to be running a filter. And that filter will be for sales. And essentially, I only want to see things with 0 sales. So what I have here is 0 sales. You can see the sum of that column is 0. And then I want to count the spend. So the spend is $2,167.84. I go back to my sheet over here and I punch that in, sponsored products, non-converting. There you go. Now let's go over to the next one, which is going to be sponsored brands. So we have sponsored brands up next. I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. Click filter. And the next thing I want to do is hide everything that has not had any sales. So I only want to see the $0 items. So again, the sum of that column is now 0. I go over here and I get the spend, and then it's $587.48. $587.48. Now I have the amount of sponsored brands that are not converting, and now I will go and get it from the sponsored display. So here I am in the sponsored display. We run the same filter, and I will only look at the things with 0 sales. And for here, the spend is $26.22. $26.62. Okay. So now we've got those numbers. So right off the bat, in just 1 week, you can see that I'm actually spending $2,700 on non-converting. And let's go ahead and add in here the total spend, total ad sales, and ACOS for this account. And to get that, I'm just going to go into Amazon and add that real quick. So this account has spent $5,600 in the last week, generated $16,000 in sales for a pretty good ACOS of 35%. Now, total non-converting is, there we go. Total non-converting is going to be $27.81. So almost $3,000 of this was non-converting. If I wanted a non-converting percentage, I can also just see what percentage of the total this is. This is half the budget. 49% going towards non-converting items. Now, just a few more notes here. Let me go ahead and vertically align that, center that, make the header column gray, make the header row bold. Okay. Now, is this good? Is this bad? Whenever you have just a moment in time, the real thing you want to do is actually begin to track this. So what that means is every single week I track this. And what I should be seeing are my numbers ideally improve, meaning I'm either improving my ACOS by shaving off some non-converting spend. Now, if your first reaction is, well, let me just go in and pause everything that has a lot of spend and no orders, you might be going in here and noticing that your sponsored display is full of a bunch of things where the average is 72 cents. So on 37 search terms, the average is 72 cents. So it's like, well, that one wasn't a big one, you might say. Well, let me go over to my sponsored products. The average spend per search term is $1.40. Most of the time when you look at this, you're going to see that it's not going to be just sort of one egregious, let me put this in descending mode. So I have a couple search terms. I have 10 search terms that spent over $10, accruing no sales. That is only $138, meaning the majority of the almost $3,000 in sponsored product spend is coming from things with like $1 or $2. It's coming from something with an average of $1.40. So most search terms are going to be really tiny. That doesn't mean you shouldn't track this. And that doesn't mean you can't do anything about this. I'll get into this in more detail in the coming series, but for now, I just wanted to sort of illustrate how to calculate your non-converting spend and how that you can look at this and understand it better. So this particular advertising account has a pretty admirable ACOS, 35%, has a great amount of sales each week, 16,000, spends, almost $1,000 a day. We spend 5,600 a week. 49% of that is going towards non-converting. Is that bad? Is that good? That's really not for, in order to determine if this is tolerable. We look at this and we ask ourselves, well, what is that non-converting spend? Sort of look at it, tease it apart, and we'll do this in a future series. For now, all I wanted to do was sort of share a little spreadsheet with you that you can begin to track it and calculate it. Tracking your non-converting spend is absolutely something that I think more people should do because it is one of the easiest things to do. So we're going to leave this episode here. I always try to give people a little bit of homework. So I suggest for you to go and track this. And if you were to force me to give a reaction to this, I would say non-converting spend at 49% is definitely probably something that makes me uncomfortable. Like, I don't like this. Looking at the $2,000 of sponsored product not converting, realizing the challenges. So I'll get in a future episode, I'll talk about what to do with this because it's not as if you can say everything that's spent over $20 turn to a negative. You would need to zoom out in time. You would need to have a longer time frame, not 30 days, not 60 days, but probably, I like to do my search term analysis for this kind of thing, at least 6 months. I like to study it that way just to get more data because what you'll see is that you'll have a whole bunch of more things spending over $20 without an order. And that makes getting those big egregious ones out of here a lot easier. I would do a little duplicate search term analysis where something's showing up multiple times. Let's add together that ad spend, see if we can get rid of it. I would do some n-gram analysis. And don't worry, I'll get into all of this in future episodes. And then I would look at search term analysis. Now, listeners of the show know about ACOS power ratio. That's in our big checklist. It's one of the most valuable things to do. So what you actually can do here is calculate your ACOS power ratio, which is essentially what your ACOS would have been if you didn't spend anything on non-converting spend, the ratio of that between the things that did convert. So you can calculate this, and since we are recording this, I'll just do this quickly. So let's tally up our non-converting spend. Oh wait, we already did. Total non-converting, total converting. So that's just total ad spend minus the amount that's non-converting. So now we have our total converting spend. Now what would happen if our ACOS only converting spend? So what would our ACOS be if we only spend money on converting things? It'd be 17%. So what is our ACOS power ratio here? Well, our ACOS power ratio here would be 32 over that, and that is just a number. So at 1.97, I would actually argue that this account is not egregiously loose. The things that do convert quite well, and the amount of things that are non-converting. So I suspect this might be just a lot of testing going on, like trying to push the account forward, trying to add a bunch of new keywords, trying to change up the campaign type. That's what I would assume is going on here. But for the most part, in this episode, please, I hope this inspired you to go and calculate your own amount of non-converting spend. If you are new to this, be sure to go watch the previous episode on non-converting spend. And we have a lot of exercises about what we're going to do with non-converting spend and how to fix it on this series. It's one of the easiest ways to improve your ACOS. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one, and I'll see you next week here on the PPC Den podcast.